Some houses were never meant to be disturbed. They wait in silence, feeding on the souls of the curious, the brave and the foolish. Tonight, you're about to step inside one of them. Beware once you enter, there is no turning back. Welcome to the house that never sleeps. The house that never sleeps. At the end of line, forgotten dirt road stood an old, broken down mansion. The local whisper about it being cursed. They said it was a house that never slept. During the day, it looked like an ordinary abandoned house, with broken windows and rotting wood. But at night, strange things happened. Heavy footsteps echoed through the empty halls. Doors opened and closed by themselves, and shadow moved even when no one was there. No one had gotten inside for years, not seeing the last person who entered vanish without a trace. Emma, a young woman who investigated paranormal places, had heard all about the house. She had visited many haunted places before, but nothing like this one. Everyone said that whoever went into the house never came out. Emma couldn't resist the mystery. She had to see for herself. With her flashlight, camera, and brave heart, Emma set off on a cold, foggy night. The air was still and quiet as she approached the house. Not even the sound of cricket filled the air. The house was much bigger than she expected, looming over her like some giant. The front door was slightly open, almost like it was waiting for her. She hesitated for a moment, but pushed it open all the way. The loud creak of the door broke the silence. She stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind her with a heavy thud. The air inside felt thick and cold, almost like the house was breathing. Her flashlight cut through the darkness, showing furniture covered in dust and spider webs hanging from the corners. True No had lived there for decades. It felt like the house was watching her. Emma's footsteps echoed in the long hallway, but something didn't sound right. It was like there was another set of footsteps just behind her. She stopped and quickly looked back. There was nothing but the empty hall. She shook off an uneasy feeling and moved on. The first room she entered was a large sitting area. Broken furniture was scattered everywhere, and the chandelier hanging from the ceiling was tilted, ready for fall. Her flashlight flickered, casting long shadow across the walls. In one corner of the room, something strange caught her eye. A large mirror covered in what looked like handprints. The weird thing was, they seemed fresh, untouched by the dust surrounding them, as if someone had been trying to reach through the glass. Emma took a deep breath and moved closer to the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, but something felt wrong. Her reflection seemed slow, almost delayed. Then, without warning, the reflection smiled at her. Emma screamed and stumbled backward, dropping her flashlight. She was plunged into the total darkness. Her heart raced as the fumbled to pick up the flashlight again. When she finally turned it back on and shone it at the mirror, everything was back to normal. It was just her own frightened face staring back. I have to record this, she muttered, pulling out her camera. But when she tried to use it, the battery was dead. She had charged it before leaving, so this didn't make sense. Frustrated, but determined, Emma decided to press on. The farther she went into the house, the strange things became. The layout of the house didn't make sense. It was like the room were moving around, changing place when she wasn't looking. Hallway led nowhere, doors opened into rooms that hadn't been there before. It felt like the house was playing tricks on her, trying to confuse and trap her. The air grew colder with every step, and the shadows stretched longer and darker. She heard soft, heavy breathing, but when she looked around, she was still alone. After wandering through endless, twisting corridors, Emma stumbled upon a room that looked untouched by time. In the center was a large wooden table, and on it, an old, leather-bound book. The pages were yellow and worn with age. The writing inside was strange and old, in a language she didn't understand. As she turned the page, she noticed something chilling. Photograph, old black and white. Picture of people. At first, they seemed like regular photos, but when she looked closer, she saw their eyes. They were empty, hollow, like something had taken their souls. One of the photos slipped out of the book and fell to the floor. When Emma picked it up, it was a picture of her, standing in the very room she was in. But her eyes were black, like the others. Fear followed her, and she threw the book down, rushing out of the room. Her heart pounded as she tried to find her way back to the front door. But it was like the house was trapping her inside. No matter which way she turned, the door was nowhere to be found. The walls seemed to close in around her, and then the whispering started. At first, they were soft, almost like a faint wind. But as she moved through the house, they grew louder and clear. They were calling her name. Emma, come closer, join us. The voice grew more frantic, overlapping each other, pulling her deeper into the house. Each room now had a strange symbol on the walls. Down in the look like dried blood. They all say the same thing. You belong to the house. Emma's flashlight flicked again and went out, leaving her in pitch black darkness. The whispers surrounded her, and the air grew so cold she could see her breath. She could feel something behind her, breathing slowly. She turned around, and there it was a shadowy figure, standing just a few feet away. Its face was hidden, but she could feel its eyes on her. She was frozen in fear as it spoke in a low, raspy voice. Welcome home. In a blank panic, Emma ran, stumbling through the dark halls. Her footsteps echoed in the empty house, but now she wasn't alone. She could hear footsteps chasing her, getting closer and closer. Her lungs burned and her legs ached, but she kept running. She had to get out. Finally she saw it, the front door, just like when she first entered. Relief washed over her as they raced toward it. She reached out to push it open, but just as her hand touched the door, it slammed shut in her face. With a deafening bang, the force knocked her to the ground. The house had her now. The walls closed in. The whispers turned into screams, and the shadows swallowed her whole. In her last moment, Emma understood the terrible truth. No one ever escaped the house. It didn't just trap, it wisdom. It consumed them, keeping their souls inside the walls forever. She would never leave the house, had taken her just like had taken everyone else before her. And now, it waits for its next wisdom, never sleeping, always hungry. The house waits, hungry for its next visitor. If you feel a chill behind you, or hear whispers in the dark, remember it's always watching, and one day it might be your turn to enter.